everybody, to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show featuring Dr. Carolyn Dean. Join Dr. Dean for the next 2 hours along with her host, cohort, and good buddy, Ginny Sanders, also known as Ginny Almighty. Join Dr. Dean as she shares with us her vast range of experience, knowledge, talent, and wisdom. Phone lines are now open, and we'll be taking your calls from around the world and here in the USA.
Welcome everyone. Dr. Carolyn Dean live and in the house right now on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. The network says uniting humankind with universal love, but tonight I, Ginny Almighty, say uniting humankind with universal smartness, the universal smartness that comes from Dr. Carolyn Dean. That's right, because we got to get smart, people. We got to get smart quickly about our bodies, our immune system, what's ours, and what we're responsible for in this global environment that we're in, because all the different influences are challenging people to wonder, can I rely on my body? Is it going to protect me? Do I have the strength I need in order to forge in this environment? Can I leave my house? These kinds of questions are questions that just are not on the minds of people who know and trust their bodies and have a healthy, uniquely fortified immune system and a body. And also, you know what? A clear mind, because clear-mindedness and confidence and wisdom are also required in this environment, so we can rightly decide and discern the spirit of truth and wisdom. And what we're noticing is that sometimes when people are really fearful and afraid, and maybe their bodies have been compromised at some times, they don't have the confidence to move out. But Dr. Dean is the world-renowned leader in confidence, and the confidence in natural medicine, and confidence in natural medicine and rightly applying and discerning your situation. And of course, we don't want anybody to be at risk, and we don't want anybody to be unnecessarily exposed. And it's always wise to be prudent. But the prudent thing to do is to really empower yourself and to empower your body. Dr. Dean's been teaching this for 50 years, ladies and gentlemen, 50 years. And you know what? She has never wearied, not once, not one day, not one moment, not for one time. She is always right on the spot, ready, willing, and able to provide assistance to anyone asking, Dr. Dean, how can I take responsibility for my health? How can I make good choices? How could I incorporate them into my lifestyle? And how can I do this to my benefit, and also how the benefit of my loved ones and my family members? So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight for 2 whole hours. If you're listening through the archive, we welcome you again. If you're listening live through YouTube, we say hello, hello. If you're listening around the world, we say hello, hello in your particular language. And if you're joining us 2 years from now, the thing that you're going to love the most about this show is the truth is still going to apply, and it's still going to resonate with you, because we are eternal beings that are all operating in the same design. Our cellular, at a cellular level, we're much more similar than we are different. So we're going to bring in our world-renowned expert, Dr. Carolyn Dean, to help us to understand all these things and to know how to apply them. And before I bring her in, I just want to remind everybody that even though she is a medical doctor, she's a naturopath, she's an acupuncturist, an herbalist, she's a dietitian, she is an advocate, she is a formulator, she's the CEO of her own company, she is an author of over 100 books. She's a whiz bang on Instagram, and she's just the cutest little woman in the whole wide world, and powerful and mighty in her own way. She would never give medical advice on a radio show. Never, know that you will not catch her doing that. But what she will do is she will talk to you about what she would do if she were in your shoes. We are going to take your phone calls at 646-558-8656. And that number is right on your YouTube screen if you're watching through the computer. And that number is also in our emails. It's on our website. It's on the Dream Vision 7 website. And you've got an ID code that goes with that. It's 8836953587. That's all spelled out for you. You can also press pound pound, and it should put you into the call. And also, we're going to take your chats and your questions through our chat line and also through YouTube. So we're here for you. And without any further ado, I will bring her on, the most delightful and lovely, our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Yeah, there are the kids down the street, yaying away. Thank you, Jenny. Great introduction as usual. Okay, people, folks, listeners, a few statements that Jenny and I have said over the years. First of all, the worst is over. That you can depend upon here. The worst is over. And here's an interesting statement. The scientist rigorously defends his or her right to be ignorant of almost everything except their own specialty. And we're seeing that right now, where health experts are asked questions and they keep themselves in a little box and they don't get out of their box to treat the whole question, the whole person, the whole mind, body, spirit. So that we have seen first and foremost. They defend their right to be ignorant of almost everything except their own specialty. Are they telling you about vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, silver, probiotics to help support your immune system? No, they're not. These scientists are telling you about the drugs that they're going to make for you that may or may not work. And another statement that I find interesting is we've educated the common sense out of people. Just think about that for a while. No more common sense out there. That's one thing that I got from my mom was common sense, and it served me well. And Jenny talking about universal smarts. Yeah, that's what we need. Universal smarts. And the questions, can I rely on my body? Can it protect me? Can I leave my house and feel protected? It's incredible to me when I do my beach walk in the morning and people are jumping 6 feet away from me, yes, social distancing and all, or, they're walking on this incredible beach with their face masks on in fear, in abject fear, because they don't think they can rely on their body. They don't think it's protected. But that's what we've been doing, right from the beginning of this company, is giving people the building blocks to help their body structure and function work perfectly and be available to protect them. The announcements that we say every week now, we want you to join our subscription service, if that makes sense to you, to get monthly shipments of your products. You can certainly add to them or make an extra purchase, but the subscription service is helping a lot of people. We want you to refer your practitioners. We want your doctor to know about REMAG so that he or she can tell their other patients so they don't have to wait years and years and years to find out about magnesium and REMAG. We want you to use your referral candy for the 15% discount. And we really do want you to join our research project with a home blood test kit. It's through Grassroots Health. And this first testing, it becomes completely free because you get the price of the test kit back in coupons for our products. Our magnesium deficiency survey continues to be very well received. I guess we've got about 70,000 people who filled it out, and it allows us to get statistics that are quite incredible. They're horrifying, really. Over 70% of people have anxiety symptoms. Over 70% have insomnia. 60% have leg cramps. over 50% have heart palpitations and restless legs. 40% have headaches and migraines. So all that is kind of proof that stress causes magnesium deficiency. That's for one thing. New versions of all the 17 free ebooks are available at drcarolyndeanlive.com website. And our nutrients paper. Ginny, do we have the nutrients paper link somewhere on the Dr. Carolyn Dean Live website so that people can see our research?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I don't think I posted it myself, but I will get it up during the course of the show tonight and post a link to it.
Oh, there's Ginny, multitasking. And now this is really important. Most of the research funding for universities in medicine is for drugs, and it comes from drug companies. And the FDA gets its cut of the money that it takes to do clinical trials on drugs. The FDA is hand in glove with the drug companies, and none of them are interested in testing nutrients. So at a certain point, I just said we have to put up the funding to do the test, to put this research into the nutrient world, because nobody else is doing it and nobody else is going to do it. So our first study was pretty awesome. We proved that the size of REMAG is at the ion level, picometer size, which makes it able to be absorbed fully at the cellular level. One dose of REMAG, 1 teaspoon of REMAG was absorbed at the 2 to 4 hour mark, which caused our research team to be so amazed and blown away that they just want to come and live with us, because they think we've got the most important breakthrough in nutrients, in nutrient research, because it's not a matter of just saying, oh, you need this vitamin, you need this mineral. Well, okay, you take them, but are they absorbed? Are they getting anywhere? And we know ours are, and the research is proving it. The next interesting thing, I usually do a COVID update, and recently I've been reminded that we do have to be very careful when we talk about COVID, because we cannot say that we are treating COVID. We cannot say that anything we do can help protect you against COVID. And this came through in a letter to an associate, Dr. Richard Cheng. Richard is in Florida, and he's part of the OMNS, Orthomolecular Medical News Service. And our group has been putting out press releases about vitamin C and vitamin D and zinc and things that will help support the immune system. But Richard got dinged because he was presenting the research that shows that that vitamin C is important to support the immune system against viruses, and this is a no-no. I mean, the words that the letter, which is it's an online letter. I think if you Google Dr. Richard Cheng, CHENG, FDA, you'll come up with what they said. We have determined, the FDA says, that you are unlawfully advertising that certain products treat or prevent coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19. And it does go on. And I don't mind going through this letter a little bit, because when the FDA came after us for having testimonials on our website that praised our products for helping them, we were told by the FDA and an FDA consultant, that we could talk about our FDA letter because that would help warn other people to be compliant. So they want us to brag about being attacked by the FDA so that everybody else will pull in their tent and stop talking about things that can help support the immune system. So this is where we're at, folks. People who are saving lives are being told that that's really not appropriate in this current environment. But, you know, we're not cherry picking a bad virus to treat or prevent. We are focusing on supporting the structure and function of the whole immune system and the structure and function of the whole body, actually. So this week, actually, it's a very busy week for us. We're introducing a new product this week, our vitamin D3K2. It's called D3K2 Reset. It will be available after our Thursday webinar. The webinar is called Total Body Immunity, and we'll be announcing our Total Body Immunity bundle as well. And the D3K2 Reset, that comes out of our relationship with Grassroots Health and finding out that many of our customers, including me, are low in vitamin D. And today's blog is about vitamins and minerals, cofactors in success. And let me just start with an overview here. 10 years ago, I started putting together products to help support the structure and function of the body. But I really dove into the work. It took over the running of the business 6 years ago and started working with Ginny. And what we had at that time was the Total Body Reset Drops, the RNA Reset Drops, the Realign, which is our B complex and amino acids that we, Chad had emails last week reminding people about the importance of Realign, to take out the garbage, get our methylated and food-based Bs and be a precursor to glutathione, our Remag, incredible magnesium, our Remide, our multiple mineral, which is the same basic formulation as the Remag in that it's stabilized ions of 12 minerals. And there's also our Restructure, and the Restructure, that's a whey protein mostly. It's also some rice protein and pea protein. But whey protein is a precursor to glutathione as well as our methionine and Realign. And the Restructure also has the RDF vitamin C and some omega-3 fatty acids. So I thought I had covered pretty much the waterfront with the Total Body Reset formulas, those 5. But then I worked on Recalcia for people who weren't getting enough calcium in their diet. And then Pico Silver came along to support the immune system, and that's been an awesome product. And then because I have such a focus on yeast overgrowth and our recommendation for our probiotic, they changed their formula. So we put out Flora Revive, which is having incredible results with our customers. And we also put out a Whole C Reset, our vitamin C from our food-based vitamin C to help support people in so many ways. I mean, the adrenal glands, the collagen in the body, the heart, so many ways. And then with Grassroots Health encouragement, I realized people needed more vitamin D. And then with COVID coming along, I had to either recommend a vitamin D or make our own vitamin D so we could be sure of its quality. also, we've got our D3 K2 reset. I also put out a Pico zinc because zinc is the basis of treatments for viruses. I guess I can't say any more than that. And soon we'll have a high dose of ascorbic acid. It'll be 2,000 milligrams per dose, and it's berry flavored. And in our test runs, I found that it's going to be awesome to mix that in with your daily liter of all your minerals mixed together. You can mix in your 2,000 milligrams of ascorbic acid for the day and have something that flavors your mineral water so you don't have to gag anymore. So that's going to be awesome. So that's kind of the trajectory of my work. And like Ginny says, I'll never stop. And what's going to happen next is we're going to realize that the nutrients we're taking for the immune system are definitely enhancing our longevity. So that's the next step. How long are we going to do the 20 years or even more? I think we can. Because all these nutrients that we're taking already with our total body reset, we're adding with the total body immunity, they're important to keep us from getting calcified. And magnesium is probably the most important because the aches and pains that people seem to have as they get older are manifestations of calcification. Just as the arteriosclerosis of the arteries is blocking the blood vessels of our heart, that's calcium. Blocking the carotid arteries in the neck, leading to stroke, that's calcium. Blocking our kidney arteries, leading to various levels of kidney failure, that's calcium. The nutrients are also protecting our telomeres, protecting our brain from heavy metals, protecting our bodies from low-grade infections, including yeast overgrowth. And all these so-called manifestations of getting older, they just reinforce our belief that we are getting older. And I will tell you, because I was very much calcified before I found out about REMAC, back spasms, all the heart palpitations. I feel younger now at 71 than I did when I was in my 30s. So being older is equated with calcification. And what we're doing is helping people become decalcified. So we're using nutrition and supplements to boost health and immune system as an essential part of daily life in 2020. And that's the beginning of today's blog that you either got in your email or you see in social media, or you can see on the homepage of drcarolyndeanlive.com. So it continues. In years past, we were told we could get all the nutrients we needed with some extra veggies at the salad bar or a green smoothie. But in today's environment, where there's so much soil depletion and chemical toxicity in our foods, it's actually better to rely on pure, highly absorbed, certified nutritional formulas. So we're telling people to do your research. And I've begun to say, this past while, you don't have to Google the internet. I've got the free library of books and videos that you can spend the rest of your days reading and really putting into practice what I'm talking about. And it's clear, concise information. And then you commit to good habits. You avoid processed foods and sugars and other unsavory food products that diminish health and vitality. You focus on proper hydration. many of our listeners know that I recommend taking your weight in pounds, dividing that in half, and drinking that many ounces of water daily with the addition of a quarter teaspoon of natural sea salt. Every once in a while, I'll come across an article about hydration and, are you really supposed to have 6 or 8 glasses of water a day? And, all this strumming, whatever, of how much water to drink, and the science shows that you do need that much water and science shows you don't. Well, what the science forgets is the minerals. They never talk about the minerals that you're supposed to take along with the water. I mean, they would just be telling you to drink distilled water, which is dead and has no minerals at all. And they wouldn't know they were, taking the science as gospel instead of thinking commonsensically about the fact that water is what brings minerals to your body. And that's been filtered out, or as I said, people drinking distilled water. So it's the sea salt in your water, and then your remag and your remite. And in the blog, Ginny writes about remag, how it's not in the soil, and we want you to take either 2 to 3 teaspoons a day. I know on the label we talk about 1 teaspoon as being close to the RDA, but that we have to follow for the FDA regulations. They just want people to be taking the RDA so that it won't interfere with drugs, so that it won't mean you don't need to take a drug, basically. And our vitamin D, we're supposed to get it through sun exposure, but what have we done in the past 10, 20 years? Slathered ourselves with sunscreen, so we don't get enough vitamin D. And through our partnership with Grassroots Health, you can do this in-home testing that I talked about and get knowledge about your level of vitamin D. And then they have a vitamin D calculator where you can put in your vitamin D level that you get from the blood test, and it will tell you how much vitamin D3 you should be taking in order to put your levels up. I had to take 10,000 units. Our D3K2 is 5,000 units of vitamin D, plant-based vitamin D, and 100 micrograms of vitamin K2. And K2 is very important when you're taking vitamin D, because vitamin D will grab onto calcium. So the K2, as well as magnesium, will direct your calcium where it needs to be into your bones and teeth. Zinc, I mentioned how important zinc is going to be for ongoing immune system support. And I have talked before about how it's used in the hydroxychloroquine protocol, and some people think that it's zinc that does most of the work, but I'm not allowed to talk about that, I suppose. And then vitamin C, so important. That's why we're going to have our food-based vitamin C and our ascorbic acid. Because on one level, it is the electrons in the ascorbate molecule that do the oxidation, reduction, chemical transformation, I guess could be the word. So it doesn't even matter if it's a natural form or if it's a laboratory created ascorbic acid, because it just comes down to the redox reaction. However, there are 8 different complex molecules associated with vitamin C complex, and that's what you'll get in the whole C reset, because you want the different cofactors of vitamin C that help with bruising and help with so many other things. There's even tyrosine in vitamin C complex that helps support the thyroid. So that actually, all this information you can read in my free booklet, Total Body Immunity at drcarolyndeanlive.com. And in the blog, Pico Silver wasn't mentioned, but that's something that has its own booklet. It is so important. So you can look at that as well on that website. So that is the blog. That is my COVID update. That is the beginning of our show. And Ginny, I do have 7 or 8 questions, but if there's anything on chat or phone calls, maybe we could intersperse. What do you think?
Okay, that sounds wonderful. Let's just remind our callers the number 646-558-8656. And then you do type an ID to get into the call, which is 8836953587. That's in all of our emails and things. And if you're on the line now and you've got a question or comment for Dr. Dean, just hit star 9 to raise your hand so we know you've got a question or comment, and we'll put you in the queue. I don't have any questions on the chat line right now, Carolyn, but I do have Elma from Kuwait typing in on our YouTube channel. And one of the things that she's saying, which is so good, is hello, Dr. Dean. Thank you. Since I've been using the product of Dr. Dean, my fatigue is gone. I have good sleep and I don't feel the cramps anymore and don't have swelling in my feet. And she said that she's using the Remite Pico Silver and Pico Zinc. And she just wants to send you greetings from her country and say thank you for everything you're doing for her.
Wow, that's fantastic. Look at that. That's just wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes, in when I visited Dubai, I could not believe the heat. The heat in the Middle East is just, I think can be unbearable. So there's a lot of sweating. People are sweating out their minerals. And when I was there, I was already into magnesium, and I probably had a Remag product, and people were interested. But it became very difficult trying to get products into the countries. But I'm so glad that Alma is able to get it in Kuwait. So thank you very much. Very good.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Okay, Carolyn, so we're caught up. Belinda's here. Everybody's on the chat. People have called in and they're listening attentively to all your good words. I just want to, as they're usually going to do, again, if you have a question or comment, just hit star 9 to ask a question, to raise your hand so that we can put you on with Dr. Dean. I just wanted to go back to that thing that you talked about earlier about the doctor who was giving the warning. And I thought it was interesting that it came from the FTC, not the FDA. So they're really interfering in terms of being able to communicate. And I know one of the things that natural doctors and the health freedom movement have always relied on is the freedom of speech. But as we've seen with this censorship and these things that are happening right now in the United States, we can't cash that check as easily as we used to, I suppose.
Right. Good point. Yes, because I was talking about the FDA because that was our experience with the FDA. But yes, that's true. The FTC, golly, it's very sad. But people are getting educated. As we know, the nutrients were flying off the shelves and probably still are. And we're definitely keeping on top of that, ordering, double quantities. Like, we used to order 10 and 20,000. So now we're up to 20 and 30,000 units at a time. So that we'll never be without. So it's very important to us to keep our products on hand. And actually what you'll find, we've had to change some of our bottling, some of our caps, because all the bottles and caps in the world have gone into the production of hand sanitizers. So they've changed things for us. So that's a small price to pay for what's going on right now. But just to notify people, you may see some changes in our packaging. So let me do the questions then until we get the calls coming in. Someone is asking, if you have a high level of potassium in the blood, are other minerals missing that could help to lower this? Is it safe, for instance, to take Remite? Now, Remite has, 2 doses of Remite have 99 milligrams of potassium. So 1 dose only has like 45 milligrams. So it's a very low amount. And potassium is interesting. I mean, my focus is magnesium, but I have recently put out the Pico Potassium because it does go along with magnesium as being necessary for the electrolytes. And I've written about it. Yes, I've put information about it in the Heart Health book. So if you haven't read about potassium, go to Heart Health. It is quite fascinating how we've kept away from potassium as a supplement because the FDA, I guess it was, put restrictions on the amount you could prescribe, or not even prescribe, the amount you could put on your label. So let me just say that the range of potassium is a tight range, 3.5 to 5.3 millimoles per liter. But often a report of high blood potassium, which is what this person Chrissy is asking about, it isn't true hyperkalemia. It may be caused by the rupture of blood vessels in the blood sample during or shortly after the blood draw. You know, you put a tight tourniquet on, and potassium can be released from ruptured cells. So this becomes a false report on the amount of potassium. So oftentimes, if people out of the blue get a high level of anything, repeat the test. And if it was a blood test where you had a tourniquet on for a long time to take blood, in 4 or 5 vials, if you get the repeat potassium test, just take the 1 vial quick, in and out. Don't have the tourniquet on for too long. So with potassium, repeat the test. The amount in Remite is very low, 45 milligrams, whereas the RDA of potassium is 4,700 milligrams. Now, someone also wrote a question about me reminding people to get a RBC for magnesium, red blood cell magnesium test, not a serum test. And why do I tell people to get a serum potassium test and not an RBC test? Well, the reasoning is that potassium is on the electrolyte panel. It's been there forever. Magnesium is not on the electrolyte panel. And with potassium on the electrolyte panel, I'm pretty sure it's a serum potassium. They know, they meaning the doctors, are well aware of potassium, the signs and symptoms of deficiency or excess, and they'll follow people's serum potassium. So it's a known sort of blood measure that they follow. With magnesium, the problem with the serum magnesium, it always looks the same because the magnesium is so important for the heart that the body, as smart as it is, the body's a genius, it will keep the serum magnesium always at a safe level. So I guess that's why doctors don't bother measuring it, because they say, well, it's always the same, why bother? So it means that potassium does rise and fall Yes, red blood cell potassium would be a better marker. There is a lot of potassium in red blood cells. There's actually no magnesium to speak of in red blood cells, so that's another difference. So there's a lot going on there. I mean, I appreciate the question, but there are good reasons just to stick with the serum potassium. The next question, which of your formulas contain glutathione, and are you a proponent of it? So the problem with glutathione is that it's not absorbed very well at all when taken in the oral form. It's broken down immediately by enzymes in the intestine, or by hydrochloric acid in the stomach first, and then enzymes in the intestine. So apparently studies have found that it's not possible to increase the amount of glutathione in your blood by taking it orally. And I learned about this many years ago in working with autistic kids, because they would have to get intravenous glutathione in order to increase their glutathione. But what I did with the Realign is working with the methionine. That is a precursor to glutathione. Magnesium is also involved. Vitamin C is also involved. So what we're doing is providing those precursors to glutathione, as well as the whey in Restructure, so that when the body needs glutathione, it can make it with the building blocks. Otherwise, I mean, who wants to go to a doctor for a glutathione shot when you can take the precursors? And next question. Now this is a good question. I was looking, there are two similar questions, because we're talking about all the different vitamins and minerals that we're offering. And this Rita says, I was looking for a multivitamin mineral product that's easy to use. A family member gave me a copy of the Magnesium Miracle. I was really impressed. I went to your website to look at Remag and saw all the products. Can you please explain the difference between your products and taking a multiple vitamin mineral? I'm trying to understand. So yes, I guess, Rita, I gave some of that information at the top, where I talk about the Remag, the magnesium. Magnesium is necessary for 80% of known metabolic functions. It is a cofactor in 1,000 enzyme reactions in the body. So 80% we need magnesium. So that's why it's a standalone product and it does so well. But then you need your other minerals. And the reason why they're in liquid form is so they can be stabilized ions, and they're very well absorbed. Otherwise, you have mineral compounds that are very poorly absorbed, like from 4% to maybe 20%. And if you're thinking about calcium supplements, they actually help calcify the body. So that's our that and sea salt in our drinking water. That's the minerals. Vitamins, what are the vitamins? A, B, C, D, E. So we've got the Bs, all 8 B vitamins in Realign, and they're food-based methylated, so they're well absorbed. C, we've got our whole C reset and our soon-to-be vitamin C. What do we call it? Vitamin C reset, probably. D, we've got our D3K2. Now, we don't have A and E. And what we're going to do is put the RDA of E and A in our Restructure. And in that way, we will have everything. In the meantime, you can get A very easily in your diet. You can still do that. E in nuts and seeds and oils. And yes, there are lots of books written about vitamin E. For example, the Shute brothers, Shute brothers. I read them, way back in the day. I think they were around in the 60s, and they were using higher doses of vitamin E for the heart. And it made sense at the time, but then I realized, well, no, it's magnesium that's sort of at the basis of the heart. And I sort of revised my thinking about vitamin E, and I really haven't been recommending it. But just for, the reasoning of having a full complement of all the nutrients, as I said, we're going to be working with the A and the E and put it in our restructure. So Ginny, when I mentioned this to Ginny the other day, she said, "Oh, I was thinking the same thing. We're still sharing a brain." So it's just the perfect balance, which is what we try to achieve. Okay, just a couple more questions. Adrian is saying, my mom recently has possibly stage 2 dementia, rapidly increasing to the next stage. She's not sleeping, hasn't slept for 2 days. She's diabetic, type 2 diabetic, and has blood pressure. We were thinking of purchasing Pico Silver and Pico Potassium. Can you please suggest additional complement formulas for her? Now, the thing is, the first thing my brain will go to when I read about diabetic and blood pressure, she's on medications. I mean, how can that not be happening? I mean, that's just the state of the world. So, Adrian, it would be a good idea to, do I have a book on diabetes, Jenny? I think I do. Total Body Reset for Diabetes, perhaps.
We have, you have two things. You have the Total Body Reset for type 2 diabetes, and you also have the Total Body Reset for Diabetes webinar, in which case you talk about the relationship with magnesium and insulin for those who are insulin diabetic. So it just depends on what type of diabetic they are, but you do have 2 resources there.
Right. Adrian says it's type 2. So go for the Total Body Reset for Diabetes, Adrian, the booklet at drcarolyndeanlive.com, and the Heart Health book. And that will tell you what to do for the blood pressure. And personally, I would be taking Remag for both those things, and you'll find out that information in those booklets. And the Pico Potassium can go along with the Remag. Pico Silver is for the immune system. It's also for wound healing. In diabetes, there's a lot of neuropathy, and the Pico Silver can be helpful. So that's where you start, and then you get in touch with us at customer service to fine tune. And here's a testimonial and a question. Thank you so much for helping all of us with your knowledge. Shortly after my husband and I started Remag, I suggested to my daughter that she try Remag in place of the magnesium her doctor had recommended to help with her Lyme disease, along with diet change, etc. However, she still suffered from severe muscle pain with his magnesium. After taking Remag for only a few days, her pain stopped, and it has not returned. That was about 3 months ago. She continues to take 2 teaspoons a day. On another subject, what are your thoughts about treating bipolar disorder? My research has indicated that niacin is extremely helpful. Okay, because we're an online store, we do have wonderful customer service, but we can't answer medical questions. But what we have done is we ask people to go on our Total Body Reset products, but we also refer to truehope.com in Canada, and they have a scientifically proven multiple vitamin and mineral and amino acid combination, really high dose nutrients that they've found in scientific clinical studies does reverse bipolar, manic depression conditions. So it's something that you should check into. I know the owner of the company, their customer service knows us. We tell people to take 2 and 3 teaspoons of Remag, and then you add the True Hope nutrients. It's called Empower Plus. They make one product. It's called Empower Plus, and we sort of trade off to True Hope for this because they've got the science, they've got the studies, they've got the customer support for people with bipolar. So that's the questions. I do have testimonials and some teaching questions, but I'll go to you, Ginny, to see if there's anything on the boards.
Very good. I wanted to just say that the situation with that person with the type 2 diabetes, we've had a lot of people be very successful also too, Carolyn, and you did that in your webinar in your book, Go on the Keto Diet. And you want to talk about that just a little bit as far as your recommendation to do the keto and get that excess sugar out of their bodies type of a thing?
Right. Yes. Thanks for reminding me. Good point. Yes, diets can be very helpful for people who have any sort of condition. You know, it's almost like you say to yourself, well, I'm on this diet and I feel bad. Maybe if I go on a different diet, I'll feel better. And that's what can happen. You can feel better when you make a change. And the major change with most of the diets today is they do take people off sugar. And sugar has so many things that are against it. It dumps vitamin C out of the cells, for one thing. Vitamin C or ascorbic acid and glucose compete for binding sites on insulin to be taken to the cells, for then the insulin to open the cells up to allow either sugar or vitamin C into the cells. So if there's a big competition between sugar and vitamin C, sugar will win. And then you don't have enough vitamin C to deal with the immune system problems. And this comes up in studies where it shows that if somebody has a big dose of sugar, big sugar treat, their white blood cells will be paralyzed for 4 to 5 hours. Now, that's in terms of mental, emotional, that can be very important because hypoglycemia can lead to anxiety, which then can be misinterpreted as an anxiety condition rather than a blood sugar condition. So, Ginny, you may have some other words, but that's sort of where my mind went when you talked about the keto diet. But what were you thinking of specifically?
For the diabetes, the type 2 diabetics, so many people have reversed their health. And a lot of people who are type 2 diabetics, as you've pointed out, are on metformin, and they've kind of been given a lifelong sentence of having to control diabetes through drugs. But there's now a lot of research and medical support for the ketogenic diet to reverse the conditions around diabetes, so a type 2. So maybe that would be something else that the daughter would want to look into. Right.
Very good. And it is difficult, though, I know. Maybe not so much with bipolar, but with conditions like schizophrenia, it's very difficult to get people on a regimen. And that's why the medical community kind of gave up on a lot of hospitalized patients 30 years ago when the drugs for schizophrenia, for example, started coming out. They thought, well, we'll just give drugs and that'll dampen down the symptoms and we can release them from hospital. Well, that became our homeless population, folks. Not 100%, but that was the instigation of the homeless population. So in order to get control of that, we have to get people back in facilities, get them on their meds, and get them sorted out. You can't sort this out on the streets.
Absolutely,
you,
100%. Yeah, very good words. It's not something you can sort out on the streets. Very, very good words.
All
Excellent.
right.
Okay, again, the number to call next hour, we're coming to the top of the hour, but next hour we're going to be able to take your phone calls, and the number 646-558-8656. And the number, the ID number for the call, 8836953587. We'll get you into chitty chat with us. And what we want you to do is hit *9 on your keypad to raise your hand and let me know you have a question in the studio, and then I can unmute your phone and you can talk with Dr. Dean. Otherwise, you'll remain on mute and you won't be able to talk with her. And that would be a very darn shame because she's wonderful to talk to. And let me get a quick question in on the chat, Carolyn, on the chat line. Does Remag need to be taken with food or not? And is it better to take it at a certain type of day, according to your opinion?
You do not need to take it with food. At this point, Pico Zinc is the only nutrient that's good to take with food because it can stimulate a little bit of nausea. I don't know why. So Remag, with or without food, it's best sipped through the day rather than a big hit of it. If you take a big hit of anything, you will lose a lot of it in the urine, or it'll go into the intestines and you'll just waste it. Someone was asking me about vitamin C, if why wouldn't it be time release so that it would dribble out through the day? Well, if people are taking high dose vitamin C to support the immune system, if they've been exposed or whatever, then you're going to be taking it through the day anyway. You're not going to be taking 10 grams of vitamin C at once. So Remag, sip it through the day in your mineral water, and do that with all your nutrients. Try to split them up and take them throughout the day so you don't overload yourself.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. So we've come to the top of the hour. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back next hour with more of this show, more of your questions, and more telephone participation at Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. And we'll be right back, everybody.
We'll be back with Hour 2 of the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show, along with host Ginny Sanders, right after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com. That's drcarolyndean.com.
Did you know there are 65 health conditions associated with magnesium deficiency? Magnesium deficiency is a public health crisis growing in scope and proportion. Dr. Carolyn Dean, author of The Magnesium Miracle, has identified over 65 health conditions associated with magnesium deficiency, 100 factors that lead to magnesium deficiency, and 24 reasons why magnesium deficiency occurs. Order The Magnesium Miracle today at Amazon.com and learn how to remedy this pervasive condition.
Do you have questions about your health? Are you wondering about alternatives? Do you ever wish you could have 5 minutes with a doctor you can trust? Someone who is an internationally recognized authority in the field of natural medicine? Meet award-winning doctor, naturopath, and best-selling author of The Magnesium Miracle, Carolyn Dean, MD, ND. Hear a wealth of information designed to empower listeners and callers to discover how to improve health, vitality, and well-being through a variety of safe strategies and nutritional options. Dr. Carolyn Dean Live. Shows can be heard every Monday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern, with weekly live shows, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Natural health, vitality, and well-being. Yes, everyone wants it, but not everyone is sure how to achieve it. Dr. Carolyn Dean's Completement Formulas are more than just dietary supplements. They're whole foods and picometer minerals designed to complete your nutrition, not just supplement it. Experience the difference Dr. Dean's formulas make. Visit RNAreset.com to learn more. That's RNARESET.com.
Omega Institute, offering workshops, retreats, and online learning dedicated to awakening the best in the human spirit. With more than 40 years at the forefront of holistic studies, Omega is known the world over as a trusted source for integrated approaches to personal growth and social change. Located in Rhinebeck, New York, just 90 miles north of New York City, Omega's natural environment and quiet pace allow for extraordinary experiences to unfold. Learn more at eomega.org or call 877-944-2002. Again, 877-944-2002.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
Return now to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show, along with her host, cohort, and good buddy, Ginny Sanders. Phone lines are open during live broadcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. Happy to have you back and happy to be joined again with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Carolyn, I was thinking while we were on the break, this is coming up this Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. If you haven't gotten an invitation, you can get an invitation to our webinar, and they may be going out tomorrow in the email. I know I see the invitation coming through on Facebook, but this is your first webinar this year. Hello, where did my Carolyn go? Uh-oh, where did my Carolyn go? She's not there. Well, I will keep chatting until she comes back because she's lurking around. She probably just accidentally hit the little button on her phone or something. You know how things go with that. But anyway, yeah, so this is Carolyn's first webinar of the, okay, there she is. There she is. I'm just chatting away to you.
You were right, Judy. She hit the button.
I hit the off button. Sorry.
No problem. So Carolyn, this is your first webinar this year.
Wow. Did we even do one last year? I can't remember. We did a pile of them and then we didn't do any. We just play around.
Yeah, we did last year. I think we did some things on the hormones and different things. I can't remember, but but I agree. But this one is going to be a whiz bang, a bang whizzer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the timing of doing an immunity webinar is very important because, like we were saying at the top of the hour, people want to feel that they're protected. And the protection comes from giving your body the nutrients that it can use to help support your immune system. The immune system is so complex. I was talking to Chad about the PowerPoint that I'm using, and he was saying that the second slide, he said, it's just too complex for people. And I said, that's exactly my point. And I said, I'm not even for a minute going to go over that whole chart. It's just to show people that all these various ingredients in the immune system, they have to work flawlessly in order to help us stay healthy. And in order to work flawlessly, they have to have the building blocks that create these cells. So that just doesn't happen out of the blue. And it doesn't happen by suppressing the immune system with prednisone and dexamethasone. And it doesn't happen by giving a vaccine, because even to give a vaccine, you have to have the building blocks to make the antibodies that the vaccine is supposed to produce. So the whole thing is very complex and intricate. And actually what I realized, and I'll say this in more detail on Thursday, but medicine kind of turned their back on the immune system when they discovered antibiotics. And they thought anything that goes wrong with the immune system will just hit them with antibiotics and then call it a day. And that has led to the downfall of our immune system. So there.
No, it's absolutely, I mean, it's very profound what you're saying. And, but this is our opportunity to reset everything. And that's our company name, is RNA Reset. And we believe in the reset. And I think this is an incredible time for people to be able to understand, historically what's occurred in medicine, so that they can make different choices and really see for themselves that we need to put ourselves on a better path.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the way.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, like you say, Ginny, I've been doing this for decades and decades, and for a time such as this, for a day such as this, I've my education, the layers that I've learned, the things that I've done, they have culminated in this company and in these products. I never in a million years thought I would be a salesperson or a businesswoman, but it's what was required. When people say on Amazon, on the people that make comments on products or my book, The Magnesium Miracle, when they say, well, she's just making a product, I don't get in there, but now I'm at the point of saying, well, who else is going to make something that's going to work? If it isn't a clinician who's been in the forefront of all this, working with chronic fatigue and AIDS, all these years, I've realized what's required. And then just by the grace of God, I happened upon a chemist who was able to stabilize these ions of minerals. And then boom, we have something that works. So it's a unique position to be in, and I'm happy to be here, along
Yes.
with my good buddy, Ginny.
Well, the thing of it is that, like, let's just look at AIDS. I mean, we talk about the immune support, but if you're the beginning place of the immune system not breaking down or whatever is getting into an infection that you can't recover from. And you know that from the chronic fatigue, the Epstein-Barr. And you know that some of these infections are lurking in your body and they're already there and they're waiting for your immune system to become compromised so they can become activated. But AIDS is the end
Exactly.
of a line for an immune system. Cancer is the end of a line for an immune system. We don't talk about those things on our show. We're way ahead of what we're all about is preventing any of those compromises and fortifying the body so that people can expect that well-being. And like you said, I mean, my gosh, the next thing is really going to be longevity. I mean, once people decide to take their power back and they decide that the government is not going to save them, and and we've seen that already. God bless everybody who's trying. Fine. But there's no better trying than me just doing. Me taking care of myself is better than a million governments trying to figure out something for me, right?
On the air.
Right. Bob, yes, sweetie. Bob just came over and asked me to read a testimonial he just received from somebody. So I'll do that right now. But yes, thank you. This whole business of letting the body deteriorate to such a point has been reinforced by the medical establishment, by Big Pharma, because sickness makes money. So, and that's all you have to know. Sickness makes money, but we don't want people to live in that world, and there are definitely alternatives.
Well,
So,
and now, but the
yep.
corollary is, and let me just say really quickly, but now what people are understanding is sickness is costing them money because there's no solution for people right now. Some people who have been inconvenienced financially because of this whole situation of which they made themselves be healthy, but financially they've been impeded. And this is when people start to not only take responsibility, but they start to hold other people accountable and say, hey, listen, we can't have this in our society. It's too much to forbear. We have to come into our own power. So you're at the forefront of that. You've been there many, many years, and you do know the immune system, I mean, in extraordinary ways. So you're uniquely qualified to present this. And as you said, it's all perfect timing, and not just perfect timing, but it's also big impact.
Right. Okay, here's a testimonial. On Wednesday, July 8th this year, my dad experienced breathing difficulties, got rushed to hospital. My aunties notified me via Skype, and they were really worried that it's over for him. I encouraged them to be ready to get his completement formulas to him, as I believe that it was not the case. He was stabilized and had to spend 3 days in a tent outside the hospital to be tested for COVID before being admitted into the COVID-free hospital. A lung scan revealed a clot that needed loosening. My aunties were not allowed to see him, but they managed to get his products to him. All was going well, but then one of the doctors that worked on my dad's ward tested positive for COVID the day before he was supposed to be released, which was July 21st. My dad got retested, tested positive, moved to the COVID hospital, placed in a 20-bed ward. The doctor would not speak to my aunts, but luckily they got an opportunity to once again get his Pico Zinc and other formulas to him. He continued to show no symptoms, which baffled the doctors, as my dad has COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and only 40% lung function, according to their medical standards. A friend of my dad, who's a retired specialist doctor from the military, called him after receiving the news. His friend could not believe that my dad was fine. He said to him that he is aware of the state of my dad's lungs and that my dad is amongst the most highest at risk of being killed by the virus. In his opinion, it was a miracle that my dad was still alive. My dad was very grateful, but at the same time eager to get out of there, as things were very morbid with the sickness and death around him. 8 days later, and still not showing any symptoms, my dad tested positive for the virus again. He said he could feel depression trying to creep in, as all he wanted to do was get out of there. However, at the same time, he remained grateful and likened his situation to Daniel in the Bible, who was thrown into the lion's den on the 31st of July. Now, it began July 8th, so now 31st of July, I received a message from him saying that something strange had just happened. He had a spoonful of pico silver and started getting hay fever symptoms. He started sneezing uncontrollably, and then all of a sudden a big blood clot came out of his nose. He said as it came out, the fatigue he had experienced lifted immediately. I spoke to him on the phone, and he told me he could breathe properly for the first time in a long time. He started walking up and down the hall for exercise, and when I was on his third lap when I was talking to him on the phone. This is amazing, as usually he's too out of breath to speak and walk at the same time. He sings all the praises of Connie's products. The doctor agreed to test him again after 4 days, as he can be discharged as soon as he tests negative. We are currently awaiting his latest test results. I want to thank Dr. Dean from the very depths of my beingness for her insight, wisdom, and guidance on how to give your body what it requires to be well, and for modeling how to live a life of excellence and completeness. Isn't that amazing? What do you say to that? Ginny's searching for the children. Ginny! Did we get disconnected?
No, I'm here. I was searching for the children to scream, yay, but I couldn't find them on my desktop. Anyway, oh my God, Carol. Well, I'll just say it myself. That's incredible.
I know. It is incredible. It really is. And and we can't make any claims. That's just something that happened.
Just something that happened. Just something that happened. Wow.
Yeah, Bob yelled out, nothing to see here.
Wow.
Move along. Yeah.
Isn't that incredible? Well, the body just relieved itself of its own burden. I mean, it's incredible. And all that layering. And that's one of the things that's so fun about minerals is the layering of the layers and layers and layers of prevention that come. That's just incredible. Mm-hmm. Gosh,
yeah.
Lord.
Yeah.
He's got no COVID symptoms.
Yeah, and his blood clot coming up and his lung symptoms are disappearing. So it reached into the very depths of his toenails to create some sort of perfection.
That's incredible.
Awesome.
Well, and what about that, the pico silver, which we speculate on and we would never claim or suggest is true, but we think it is that whole thing about how it does stem cell recovery and it stimulates the white blood cells, and it's probably just putting layers and layers of and also zinc is just so healing for your skin and your tissues. Between the zinc and the pico silver, he probably just had an incredible healing in his body. That's amazing.
Yeah, and what he was saying, his aunties managed to sneak the remedies into him. Now that is something. And they'll put it in a water bottle, for example, and just say, stay hydrated. So you have to do these things. I would do it in a heartbeat to help somebody.
Absolutely. Well, you have done it your whole life, running into burning buildings. The wife of a patient of mine and I, he had, what happened to him?
he had an asthma attack and he had to go in hospital. And his wife told me, who's a nurse, that he couldn't take steroids. They affected his brain. He would go very confused and appear crazy. So I told them, no steroids. What did they do? They put him on steroids. So, the next day he went crazy and they put him on the psych ward. So she and I went in and we kidnapped him. We just took him out of the hospital. Now, if they'd found me, I would have been in front of a firing squad. That's for darn sure. But that's what needed to be done at that moment in time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the courage that you can have, and that, you can go with the angels, you can be protected, and you can make those kind of courageous moves when you have the confidence that you have, which is what we've talked about all the show. Is you've got to get some confidence in your body and the choices that you're making, and knowing and trusting. And the way you do that is collecting the evidence, listen to the testimonials, have your own experience, notice your body reacting and improving, and continue to turn that into more and more and more momentum to your advantage until you're walking around in complete and total heck. I'm so confident after listening to Carolyn's radio show for years, I just ignore most of her advice. I'm just teasing. But when you do talk about sugar, I'm like, not me. I'm not going to have I'm not in my world. I'm not going to have a 5-hour meltdown because I had a piece of chocolate cake. I refuse. But I can't say that because of all the products I'm on. So that's good. All right. So let's take a couple phone calls. And also Diana, our precious Diana, in the first hour, she typed in and said, I'm gluten intolerant and I need to verify if Flora Revive is safe for people like myself. Thank you.
Okay, Flora Revive, it does have some RNA reset powder in it, and it does test negative for gluten, but we're not allowed to label it as gluten-free because it is a barley product, and people apparently are allergic to the word barley. So is that the gist of it, Jenny?
Yes, we cannot label any product who has any RNA powder in it as gluten-free. Now, the RNA drops are not gluten-free. We want to be clear about that. But the powders that's in the restructure and things like that, that has been tested for gluten-free. And it's what they call washed of glutens. And through the process that's used in the making of the drops, that powder is sequestered. It's been washed and cleaned. And so you're in good shape with that, Diana.
And even the RNA reset drops, it's 99% of the time it tests free of gluten, but because it tests once in 100 for gluten, we can't put a gluten-free label on it.
Yeah.
But what we said right from the beginning with the RNA reset drops is that we want people's digestive systems to get strong enough that they're able to metabolize a little bit of gluten. If people are sensitive to one molecule, then yes, you do have to avoid anything with gluten. But constant restriction and not exposing yourself to allergens can actually work against you. That was the model, for so long, is avoid, and then you hear stories about people who they can only eat a handful of foods because their immune system has not been allowed to develop to be able to deal with different allergens. Now, the whole immune system exposure to genetically modified organisms and the synthetics and all the toxins and chemicals, I mean, that is breaking down our immune system. And that, again, is why we are promoting the use of the vitamin D and vitamin C, Pico Silver, Pico Zinc, and the Flora Revive to support the immune system. So it comes back to that basic question. Can your immune system support you being able to tolerate some gluten? We're not recommending people put their face in their allergens or do anything silly, but test it every once in a while and see if your body can cope. And with the RNA reset drops, we just ended up telling people, well, put it on your skin or get the Renew serum and use that on your skin and absorb it through your skin to get the life force of the RNA reset drops.
Yep, very good, very good. Very comprehensive answer. Thank you, Carolyn. Very good. All right, area code 941. Let's take some phone calls to area code 941. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment, please.
I guess it might be me, Carol. And I've called you before a long, long time ago with many things, but so I don't know where to begin tonight, but I've tried the magnesium. I talked to Julie more recently. I just can't get it down. It gives me diarrhea. And the cardiologist put me on the oxide. I think that's what it's called, the Remag 400 milligram. And I took that some, but I continue to have spiking blood pressures. They went away for a while, but it's not high enough to stay on medication. And I have a telemed with him tomorrow again. We just keep revisiting this, but I get spiking blood pressures, and then the heart rate may drop low. And a girlfriend today who's a nurse mentioned had they checked my renal arteries. And of course, I will ask him that tomorrow, but I just wondered if Dr. Dean knew any proof to that could be part of the blood pressure problems. I also had a lot of leg cramps. They've let up lately, but try as I might, and I do your salt in the water, and I was trying to mix the Remite and the Remag and spray it on me. But I don't think I'll ever get to the right level trying to do that. I listen to you every week. I love all your stuff. I was going to order your Pico Potassium, and you didn't have any. And I will ask the doctor about that tomorrow. So it's kind of a multifaceted question, like even with the potassium.
Okay, Carol, how old are you?
I'm 71.
Okay, and when did this spiking blood pressure begin?
Well, I've had it off and on. I was trying to turn that phone off because I can hear it in the background. It had started a couple of years back, and I was on Losartan and different things, but bit by bit, they had me on bisoprolol. They thought I should be on the beta blocker, but it took me too low, and then it settled down for a while, so I took nothing. And then it started...
Right, but tell me, is there any indication of stress or anything that could have caused the blood pressure?
No, I can't think of anything. My doctor thinks, I called him the other night, it was 194 over whatever, I can't remember. The heart will race up to like 110 or 15. And he'll call it anxiety sometimes. They said that in the beginning, but I was doing nothing. It was last Monday night, actually. I was watching a local board meeting, and then I'm like, oh, Dr. Dean's on, and I put that on, and then kind of listened to that. I actually went to call in. Ginny said there were no calls, but you missed me. And then I just went to do some text. I wasn't stressed.
Okay, let's get back to this situation. So what you're saying with the different things here, Carol, like when you get a racing heart, that's the first sign of magnesium deficiency. And then it can go to the blood pressure. And then it can be causing the leg cramps. So yeah, you're right. It's probably related to magnesium deficiency. But as you say, Remag giving you diarrhea. Now, magnesium oxide, that'll give you a lot of diarrhea. So I don't know what happened there. But with the Remag, how much can you take before you get the laxative effect?
Well, again, it isn't like I've ever put that much in my water because it seemed right away when I added the two together. So I probably spoke with Julie quite a while ago, and she mentioned putting it in a spray bottle. And then when I bought your magnesium lotion again, but I can't really tell you what amount I'm getting in there, but it probably is not a lot.
Well, you have to start somewhere. What you have to do is, in your mind, you say, okay, I know that leg cramps are magnesium deficiency. I know that this tachycardia is magnesium. Even anxiety is magnesium deficiency. Blood pressure is magnesium deficiency. So I need to work on my magnesium. You know that Remag is supposed to be non-laxative. So as Julie probably told you, you have to work with psyllium seed powder when you take it, but you have to take it consistently. So you put yourself on a schedule where you take a quarter teaspoon, start from the beginning, a quarter teaspoon. I did. Her and I went through this way back when. I did do that. And then at the point where you're getting the laxative effect, you stop that, and that's where you add the Remag lotion. And if you're getting, maybe a half a teaspoon of Remag liquid in a day, and you're getting a whole teaspoon of Remag lotion on your body in a day, that's a whole dose, and you can get a lot of good out of that. But I guess if I can get good, when you tell how you had to do 5 teaspoons in all of this, and for I think you said 2 years. I mean, I've heard you loud and clear, all of it, but it's like I can't get to base 1. So no, but that's what I'm saying. Don't look at that. Don't put that pressure on myself. Pressure, exactly. Because as soon as you say, and it was 4 teaspoons for a year and a half, but as soon as you say, I'll get there, then you just give up. I don't want you to give up. I want you to be on something. Because if you stop the Remag and then you went to magnesium oxide, which is 4% absorbed, you're not going to get anything happening. And you can't get to the point of diarrhea, so that's where you have to do your psyllium twice a day. So you have to be in this for the long haul. You have to do it as an experiment. You have to keep notes and just say to yourself, I have magnesium deficiency and I'm going to take care of this. Okay, well, and I had 8 months, let me say, with no blood pressure issues and no meds. And then it started up again. But, and then they're giving me gabapentin with the leg cramp. It goes on and on. It's just too many things. But when this nurse friend mentioned the renal arteries, like, had they looked at that? Is that anything that could cause, I was trying to research it today, but in terms of getting anything, leg cramps? Sure. The renal arteries, they can be calcified, and then they can create angiotensin problems. And there's a lot that can go on, but it still is modified by magnesium. It's all driven by magnesium deficiency. So the renal arteries too, if you knew there was an issue, you'd still go back to the magnesium? Well, I can't say because I don't know exactly what it is. But if it's renal artery calcification, that's caused by magnesium deficiency. And you've told me you've been on this drug, that gabapentin. All those drugs are going to deplete your magnesium once again because they're just treating symptoms and they're causing more magnesium deficiency. So, well, that doctor put me back on the same one, the cardiologist, the 400 milligrams of oxide, and the visit was about over. And I said, well, I listened to this online doctor. She has liquid magnesium, and I'm trying to take it. And I was even going to ask you about her potassium. And he's like, well, don't be adding too many things at once. And I know that. You do them one at a time. But you can never get the
questions out to them. And I just go in this circuit between the cardiologist, the rheumatologist, the, now this pain doctor, because I have numbness issues and stuff. And I've got your Pico Silver, and I heard you again tonight say that can help with like neuropathies, but how I get all this down. And then Julie told me try the cherry juice, but I went and looked at all of them. I have severe acid burns, so your cherry juice deal won't work for me either. So,
well, we'll see if our ascorbic acid with the berry ascorbic acid, you can do that. Well, just get some plain stevia then, Carol, to sweeten it up. You really do have to ground yourself in the fact that you have magnesium deficiency and you have to deal with it, because none of these doctors know about magnesium enough for a doctor to be giving magnesium oxide in this day and age is malpractice, because it's just a lot.
Well, I thought it was a step in the right direction that he'd even mentioned magnesium.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And I took him your article on the one ages back, magnesium. I tried to give it to the cardiologist specialist because they talked about me having a pacemaker, and he said, "Oh no, I could never get time to read it." And I thought, well, then don't waste my paper. And I gave it to my cardiologist, but I never got to ask if he read it. But I think he knows about it, but so you say they give you oxide means they don't know what they're talking about.
It's just a laxative, and you're not going to absorb it. But look, here's what you do. You get my heart health book and read it again. You probably read it, but get the heart health book and just remind yourself that you've got to learn how to take the magnesium and not, who knows what's going on with the intestines. Maybe you need to do a yeast detox and take the Flora Revive to stop your bowels from reacting to the magnesium. And I'm sure Julie has told you all these things, but then, when you go to a specialist and they tell you this or that or give you a drug, you've got to focus yourself on what common sense tells you need to do.
Well, and that sounds easy, but I have that other female disorder. I can't tell this stuff on the radio. But anyway, and so I can't be having diarrhea. But so that's another facet. I've told Julie about it. But
I know, but I'm going to just interject for a minute now because my customer service thing is coming out, Carol. This is Ginny. And I just want to go back again over where is the primary objection to using Remag topically?
None.
Okay, then stop right there. That's what you've got to do. You've just got to use it topically, and you build your dose by using it through your skin. Now, if you're going to get a lot more that way than you'll ever get through magnesium oxide. And you say that you don't think you can build your saturation, but I know you can because we've had people do it. And
through my skin.
Yes.
And so any amount I want to put on of your magnesium lotion and what dose would I need to get to of that, or spraying? I've got the whole bottle. I was mixing Remite and Remag, but
that's fine. You
bit sticky to spray around, but
all you do is you do your own experiment. You get your bottle, you spray out 1, 2, 3, 4 with your particular sprays into a teaspoon measure, and you see how many sprays actually equal 1 teaspoon. And then you just divide your sprays during the day. Do a little bit in the morning when you get out of your shower, do a little bit at lunchtime, maybe just put some on your abdomen, then spray your feet and your legs before you go to bed, and be done with it. It will go in the same way, and you'll have an incredible result. And if you have calcification anywhere, your body will take it up. That's what I'm suggesting. Carolyn, what do you think of that?
Yes, you've got to do that, because everything we've said, and you've talked to Julie, you've been through this many, many times.
Oh, for a long time.
Everything we say everything we say, you have an argument. You're arguing against, what is the words that
she's arguing
Ion
for
says?
her own limitations.
Limitations.
Yeah.
You're limiting yourself constantly. So every time you hear yourself saying, well, yeah, but, you've got to stop that, because that is in the way of you healing. That's what I'm picking up. And Ginny is too. So,
and the renal arteries, Ginny, what you said about that calcification, are you saying that would help with that?
Well, what I'm saying, what Carolyn said, any calcification in the body is magnesium deficiency related. And that means that calcium has been built up in your arteries. And that means that you have to get magnesium into your body in a highly absorbed form so that it can move it out. It's like a Brillo pad. Magnesium is like a Brillo pad to calcium. Well, it's not going to jump out of the bottle into your body on its own. And if you're not willing to take it orally, then you've got to use it topically. And if you've got cramping in your legs, I would start there.
Well, suddenly that's disappeared over the last couple of weeks, but I'm sure not forever, you know.
Okay, well, no. Hey,
I got you.
No, it is a sign that your body is able to heal itself. And you have to acknowledge that and acknowledge your body's ability to heal, which means it can relieve you of all of your symptoms eventually as you continue to be consistent, daily, consistent dosing, spray it on your legs, use it, measure it out, keep going, and be grateful that your body's showing any progress at all, and it will sustain you through the rest of the transformation that you want to experience.
And what about your potassium? Should I add some of that? My potassium levels seem normal.
Well, get the REMAG under control first. Don't be jumping around to different things. Just get this magnesium under your belt. You know, the next thing you'll be saying, well, I tried potassium and then this happened and that happened. Do the experiment properly with just the REMAG and you'll see the benefit. I mean, if you've been listening to the shows, you know how much people will.
Well, I know, but then the blood pressure started spiking again, and I don't know how to deal with that. Just, it might be 5 nights fine, and then out of the blue, it shoots up to 189. And
yeah, and we can't be your doctors about that. I'm sorry, but I know that if you were getting some saturation of magnesium, that possibly wouldn't be happening. And I know, again, we can't be your doctors about this, but our customers will say when they have an episode of the blood pressure or pain or AFib, they'll take a little extra REMAG and that will help them. But that's all we're going to say today.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I love all your stuff, and I listen intently. I have a friend with type 2 diabetes, and I keep telling him he needs to tune in.
You're right. Yeah.
And I'm gonna give him your articles on that Ginny mentioned tonight.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Carol. Well,
thank you.
What you said. Yes,
thank you both.
Want you to be better. You're welcome.
Yeah, well, I want to be better. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, very good. Carol gave us a workout. An aerobics class. Okay.
Oh,
right. She's a sweetheart. And I know everybody. And you know, that's one thing about you, Carolyn, is you'll go to the mat with people and you won't waver. You'll just keep reinforcing it. And she's there. She's going to do it. Okay. Let's go to area code 719. 719, you're on the line tonight with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Hello. This is Pamela. And
go ahead, Pamela.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes. You're a little low, Pamela, but go ahead.
No, I can turn the sound up, I think. Is that better?
It is. It is better.
Okay, good. All right. I forgot I had turned it down. when I talked to you, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I was telling you about my problem with the diarrhea, and you suggested that I put all my minerals and everything into my water and spread it out throughout the day. So I've done that since then, and I believe that's why it has been improving. But what's weird about it is I'll have it one day and not the next, and it goes back and forth. And so I'm wondering, do you really think that's totally due to the remag, or is it something else in my diet and stuff adding to it?
It's hard to say, but if you did not have diarrhea before you began the remag, then it's possible it's the remag kind of partly detoxifying a person, and maybe partly it not being absorbed into the cells and going out the intestines. And that's where we tell people to add the psyllium seed powder. Have you done that yet?
No. Is that a product of yours, you mean, or just get it from the store?
No, it's just, Metamucil. It's just a Metamucil type thing with no flavoring and no sugar. You can email customer service at support@rnareset.com and ask for our laxative effect FAQ, because people will get the diarrhea. I mean, maybe it's like, what would you say, Ginny? 5 people in 100?
Oh.
Can have this
I don't
reaction.
know if it's that much. Yeah.
And so we're used to it because, we have 100,000 people on the product. So it's bound to come up if a person, say, has yeast overgrowth and the remag is helping to kill the yeast, then that can cause some laxative effect, or just a slight IBS. Now, I have slight IBS, but I was still able to take 4 teaspoons with never the laxative effect until I got saturated. So everybody has a little different thing going on. So you use the psyllium seed. It's a fiber that helps absorb liquid from the intestines to keep the laxative effect at bay.
Okay. What jumps into my mind is years ago I was told that psyllium seed is very harsh on the colon, but it must not be if you're recommending that, right?
Oh, right. I mean, the thing with Metamucil, are you kidding? It's the most prescribed substance on the planet. It's used for diarrhea and for constipation, Pamela. So it's, millions of people use psyllium. So no, it's not a problem.
Okay, great.
So get our FAQ on it, and that's your next, that's what you'll do now for the next month, and see if you can get this under control entirely. The other thing that's really going to be helpful is our Flora Revive. That is our probiotic, and it also has an antifungal component. And the Saccharomyces boulardii in the Flora Revive is a treatment for diarrhea. And the diarrhea may be from yeast overgrowth, and that's something you can read about in my Reset the Yeast Connection book at drcarolyndeanlive.com. So slowly but surely we'll chip away at this and figure it out, okay?
I hope so, but because I'm afraid of going out of the house, and I figure it's good that I'm not working right now. I wouldn't be able to do it.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll help you sort it out, okay? And get in touch with customer service about the psyllium seed, and if you want more input about our yeast book, okay?
Yes. And I want to thank you all also for your recommendation of using your magnesium lotion, because I was using a different one before, which was helping, but it wasn't totally going away. And now I think I've pretty well got it handled with yours. Thank you.
What have you got handled with our Remag lotion?
The cramps in my legs.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, Carol, who was just on before you, that's what we told her to do, to put the Remag lotion on her legs. Awesome. Well, that's great, Pamela. So, yeah, we've got your back.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye for now.
Okay, bye.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you for calling in again. The number 646-558-8656. Here to talk with Dr. Carolyn Dean. A few more minutes left in the show today. 883695-3587 is the code to call in. Once you dial into the phone, we'd be happy to put you on with Dr. Dean. Again, you've got to hit *9 on your keypad to raise your hand in the studio so that we can put you, connect you with Dr. Dean. Let's see what we have going on YouTube, Carolyn, all of our robust listeners over there. One person did type in, Stephanie, and ask, would taking magnesium on an empty stomach contribute to diarrhea? Carolyn?
There I am. Yeah, I got muted somehow. No, Remag on an empty stomach cannot contribute to diarrhea unless you're taking like 2 teaspoons at a time. But that is a good point that you're bringing up, because if you take your Remag with a meal, it can perhaps slow it down and slow down the possibility of diarrhea. But, you know, the way we ask people to sip it through the day, to slowly put little increments of magnesium into the cells so that you won't lose it. Basically, we don't want you to waste it. So Remag, just sip it through the day is the best way to do it. I don't know what else to say. Can you add anything to that, Ginny?
Nope. I think you're right. Well, one of the things we know is that Remag has been clinically proven not to cause diarrhea. You know, we know that it is clinically proven not to offer the laxative effect, but we also know that people have a lot of digestive distress. They have toxins in their gut, they have yeast overgrowth, they have leaky gut and other things. And when Remag goes in to do its healing work, it is going to work in the body to bring that healing process, and that release could be a Herxheimer reaction that does not have to be necessarily related to magnesium that's not absorbed, because Remag doesn't even require digestion. We had Taylor Willis come in on the show and talk about the fact that it doesn't even make it to the small intestine. It's gone. Boom. Bada bing.
Right. Oh boy. Yeah. So there's all these things that a person will use as their experiment in figuring out what's going on with them. And as we said, it's rare to happen. It does happen. The people we hear from are the people who the laxative effect is happening to. We don't hear from the 100,000 people who don't have the laxative effect, but we just hang in there with the various little fixes that we have until the body settles down. I forgot to ask Pamela how long she'd been on Remag and how much she was taking. But I think if she adds the psyllium and the Flora Revive, I think that will make a big shift for her.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. And that usually fixes it. Again, we've got, people got so much going on in their stomachs. But thank you, Stephanie, because that's a great question. And we had our good friend Ina on earlier too, talking about she had just gotten her order and how she could start taking her products and taking it morning, evening, that kind of thing. We've got some really new fun people joining us on the show, on the chat line on YouTube, and we're very, very grateful for their contribution, because you're asking the question that everybody's thinking. That's what we always say on the show. So we love to take questions and we love to be able to, Carolyn answers one, she's answering so many people, and it's so beneficial. So thank you again for posing those for us. Okay, Carolyn, so what else? We've got about 4 minutes till the show wraps up today. What else shall we talk about?
Okay, here's a teaching question. It's interesting. Someone is saying, I had a very large mold exposure, still trying to detox. And she says she has a gene mutation. She's high in glutamate and low in GABA. What products would I recommend? Now, I really don't have a clue, but I can't medically say. She's asking, should she take silver, realign, does the methionine increase glutamate, all kinds symptoms of anxiety, anger, depression, sulfate issues. She's taking taurine and just added molybdenum. Very complex, but I want to say to this person, with a mold exposure and the possibility of having a mold and yeast interaction in the body, I would look at the yeast detox, which is taking the Pico Silver and the Flora Revive, and I would get an ozone machine. I've written a blog on black mold. So what you do is you Google black mold and my name, and it comes up with the words more on black mold. And I go into how you get a small $70 ozone generator at Amazon and use that in the various rooms in the house to help clear out mold, either that's still in the home or that you're exhaling, and then that's growing in your environment. Crazy as it sounds, but in damp rooms like your bathrooms, you could be growing a bit of mold that keeps the symptoms going. And in terms of what I'd recommend, if she's concerned about the Realign, I would say the Remag, the Pico Silver, and the Flora Revive would be what I would take. So there, that's done, and we still have 1 whole minute.
1 whole minute. Very good. Very good. Great show tonight. Thank you. Thank you to everybody. And who are writing in, calling. Somebody's asking why the RNA drops are thicker than before. The RNA drops are constantly changing. We're on generation, I don't even know anymore, 160 something. They have a very unique aspect to them, a quality to them, and the way that they're made, they're handmade, they're hand batched, and they're processed in a very unique way. And so every batch is different. Everything's going to be different. So just rely on them. The one thing you can count on about the drops is they're always going forward, they're always evolving, and they're always going to be different. And you will be different too as you use them, because you will be totally wonderfully and inspired and satiated as you do that. Right, Carolyn?
Right. Yes. And the generations mean that in this 165th generation, it has bits, molecules of every preceding generation. So it has levels of excellence that cannot be matched ever.
Ever. Yes, that's exactly correct. So we're so grateful for everybody. Thank you again, everybody. Thank you, Patrick, everybody on the chat line, everybody at the studio. Thank you, Deb. Thank you, Bob. And we are going to sign off for now, and we will be back next week with so much more fun.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, listeners.
You've been listening to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show. For questions about today's broadcast, email Dr. Dean at questions@drcarolyndeanlive.com. That's questions@drcarolyndeanlive.com.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.